without further ado, let's jump straight into the demo. So I'll first start off with introducing this company over here. I will use this for my demos. So it's called Acepod Fitness Limited. So they are a leading player of the fitness industry. So they offer quality gym equipments to home, school, offices, gyms. They have about 10 offices in Asia Pac region. Company is growing and they want to be digital, not just like many companies out there. So in 2020, just shortly after the pandemic has happened, they wanted to go into e-commerce, right, to sell more of the mats, water bottles, so those fitness-related products, because a lot of people are working from home and things like that, so they just want to capture that market. So after they launched a website in 2021, which is last year, their website was breached, and a hacker was trying to gain some data. But fortunately enough, the hacker was stopped before he could gain any data. But however, the website was shut down for a few days for investigation, right, causing them to have some loss in business. So let's take a look at in their development environment. So most of the applications are actually built in-house, except for this catalog service, which is run by another team of contractors. Okay, so they have multiple clusters in the dev environment, and therefore the ops team takes a long time to stitch up all these services because they need to think about how to expose these services and how to make them communicate with each other securely. And some of the users also complain that during some load tests, they actually experiencing some lagginess in the website, but they couldn't find out what went wrong, and there was no tools available to find out what's happened. So let's see how TSM or Tanzu Service Mesh can help with this. So let's take a look at these two clusters. So there's two Kubernetes clusters over here. One is with the services, but it doesn't include the catalog because the catalog was actually exposed on the other cluster, and it's run and managed by the other team. So right now we need to piece up this together to see how it actually works. So before I do that, let me log into the first clusters and get the services. Okay, so there is a LB over here. So let's go to the website. So as you can see, this is the e-commerce website. However, if you click on catalog, because the catalog is actually on the other cluster, there's no images to load up and things like that. So I already have onboarded the clusters in Tanzu Service Mesh. So what I want to do here is to create this global namespace so that I can actually stitch up all the services. So click on global namespace, create a new namespace. Okay, let's give him a domain name. And now, because I already onboard my cluster, I can actually choose my clusters, and my application is running in the default namespace. So the next one, I'm going to add the second cluster, which is the dev cluster, and map it to the same namespace. Right? It can be on different namespace as well, as global namespace is an abstraction. Okay. So in this demo, we will not configure a public service. This is more internal. Okay, what this global namespace will do, it will actually create a virtual service. Okay, so now if I log on to my second clusters, when I get a virtual service, okay, so GNS is still configuring. Later on, you will see Tanzu Service Mesh will actually configure the services that's inside the clusters with some external names that other cluster can access to. Okay, so just give it a while. So as you can see, it's already starting to put the two clusters together, And what you will see in a short while, it's if I go to the website, it will be able to connect to the catalog service. Okay, there you go. So this is the virtual service that GNS has configured. So for the catalog service, I can actually access the catalog service using this domain name. So now I'm going to go back to my cluster 1, and if I were to get my service, okay, so I'm going to edit the shopping service so that you can actually refer to the new name that I have put in GNS. Okay, so for the catalog service over here, okay, put in the fully qualified name. So wait a while while it's refreshing, and we can actually see once that's done. So you can click on the refresh. Yep, just wait for a while. It's actually configuring. There you go. You see, the catalog is being shown over here. And in Tanzu Service Mesh, they also map out the things for you, where the request for you can see the shopping request is actually going into the catalog in a short while. So there's other observabilities that Tanzu Service Mesh actually provides. As you can see, it gives you all the requests per second. You can configure, you can look at the performance, right? And there was one scenario, they were doing load tests and they couldn't figure out where was the latency. And in Tanzu Service Mesh, they actually provide you with latency observability, and you can actually use all this information to figure out which is actually causing the problem. Okay, so what I've shown you is with a few clicks in Tanzu Service Mesh, we can actually stitch up the services, which what we call east-west services, very easily. So let's move on. So Acepod Fitness, they also have an on-prem setup. As you can see over here on the diagram, it's a very typical enterprise kind of setup. So they have a requirement of 4 nines for this e-commerce application. So and their recovery time objective is near 0. So you have to use some form of automatic kind of solution to provide a highly available solution. So for the production environment, they are actually putting in Singapore and DRDC in Malaysia. They also use a lot of legacy enterprise network and security solution, and of course, together with all the open source solutions that they have when they are running Kubernetes. You can see over here in the diagram. However, the disaster recovery solution is actually not working well for them. So what they would like to achieve is their end state will be everything will be in the cloud. However, they are looking at probably starting with on-prem as well as EKS, AWS container service, EKS in the public cloud first. And what they need is the solution to be fully integrated, very easy to deploy, fast to deploy, and secured. So now let's see how the integration TSM and AVI can actually help with this. So again, I already have the clusters being set up. You can see over here. Let me go back to clusters. Okay, so in the production setup, I have EKS clusters running in AWS, and there is also a TKGM, which is the Tanzu clusters running on-prem. Okay, so let me bring up the diagram. So this is how it looks like. So this is on the right hand side is in AWS, is the EKS clusters. On the left hand side is Singapore DC. So right now, in the first demo, you have seen how we can actually use GSM to stitch up services. But in this case, GNS is a cluster by itself. And what you have over here is the same application that's running in 2 different clusters. And what we want to achieve here is to have high availability across data centers or clouds or sites. So we also want to expose the GNS service using a public domain name. So usually, without this integration is actually very difficult. You need to configure layer 4 load balancing, take care of IP address management and things like that. So let's now take a look at how TSM and AVI can actually help to simplify all this configuration. So I already have created this global namespace over here. As you can see, this is the one. So previously was the dev, now was the production one. So I've pre-configured all this, which I've shown you in demo 1 to make things faster. But in this case now, I would like to configure a public service. So I need some help from the audience. Could you give me a name so that I can actually use it for my demo? Maybe Bisham or Ryan, you could just share me. Okay. Just put, I'll just put Meetup, okay, just to be easy. So you can see over here, and there's different ways that you can actually configure round robin or weighted or active passive. Okay, I will just stick with round robin. So those are different use cases that you can actually configure with the TSM and AVI integration. Okay, so that has been successful, and we can go over to the new name. As you can see, is being loaded up with this global namespace services is being exposed out. So to give you an overview, like what is the DNS that is being configured at the back end? Let me do a NS lookup. As you can see, there's actually 2 records being configured over here, and this is done over at the AVI site. So as you can see, this is being configured by TSM, and right now it's red color because it's still waiting for the health checks to be coming alive. But anyway, the DNS is already working. So this is the one. This is the VIP that is hosted in EKS. This is running my on-prem, right? So I can actually show you this one, and I can actually put it in. This is my on-prem site. So what I'm going to do here to show you the high availability actually works, I'm going to log on to my on-prem TKGM clusters with the AKO actually running over there, and I'm going to shut down the service. So you can see over here, this is the service that has been running. So I'm going to delete the service. Okay. And I also should do a ping to the meetup.public.acepod.com to see now my computer is actually resolving. Okay, now it's actually resolving to the public cloud, right? But anyway, I will show you the on-prem setup, which is this IP address, and you load, is already down. But if I go to the public website, see here, it's not affected. So end of the day, TSM with AVI is actually doing the health checks at the back end. So you can see we actually remove the on-prem because it's down, and what you get end of the day is the users are redirected to the working clusters, and therefore your users are not affected, right? Giving you a highly available setup.